Well, hello, friends. I'm just over here in our other barn. I'm actually looking for a couple of things that I'm going to need for gardening time that are over here in the barn, and it's dried up enough that I could get up here. And so I thought I would take a minute to say hello and tell you what you're going to see in this unusual episode today that's all about gardening. So it's a compilation, a mixture of photos and some video from our garden, mostly from last year, 2020, but some if I didn't have, oh, there comes the light in my eyes. Some if I didn't have pictures of from last year that were very good, I might have gone back for a year or two ago to show you what we grow and what we like to grow. And I've had a couple of people ask me about what we're growing or what I'm going to grow or what I have grown and how I garden. And so I thought I would put that together for you because I don't have a regular episode ready. Oh, that's really bad glare on the glasses. Let's turn this a little. I hit the door. There. Is that any better, or do I look too ghoulish? Anyway, so that's what I did because I don't have a fleece or a knitting video ready quite yet. And plus tomorrow is the first day of spring, and so I thought it might be kind of fun for you to see. So if you have any questions about anything, be sure to reach out to me, and either in the box down below or on Instagram where I'm at MyWoolMitten, and just ask away and I'll try to answer you. I hope you'll enjoy this. We do love gardening, and I think you'll see that I don't garden in rows and I don't garden in the big space that we used to garden in, but it's more small beds and raised beds dotted around the yard, close to the house or chasing the sunshine, and that works pretty good for us. And maybe in my next regular episode I'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to grow this year, but you'll get an idea from looking at these clips. So let's see what else. Oh, you'll also notice that what I use, the materials I use in the garden, are all recycled, repurposed, reused from around the farm. I'm really bad about ever throwing anything away or getting rid of anything, and if I can't use it in the house, I can usually use it in the garden. So you'll see that there, and hopefully that encourages you that if you don't have money for something new, just find something from somewhere that you can build on. Even if it only lasts a season or 2 seasons, make it work for you. So anyway, that's all. Thank you for coming along. If you're new here, click the subscribe button and come back and see us again. And if you're one of my friends returning, well, I'm just very glad to have you, and I hope you'll enjoy this peek at my garden year. It won't probably make a lot of sense. I tried to kind of put it in order from early spring till fall, but some of it might be a little jumbled up. So anyway, I'll say goodbye for now, and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this little montage of our garden year. Oh, and I should say that I am in the middle of the Mitten, Michigan, a zone 5A, 5B. Some will even say that we're zone 6, but I would say in my little pocket of garden, 5A and B, definitely. So take care. I'll talk to you soon. And thanks for coming along. This beautiful, beautiful fragrant rose was a $30 rose bush, or 26, I can't quite remember, that I got from the clearance bin for $5. It's so gorgeous. I got a pair of them. And you know, there's not much prettier than a radish gone to seed. Isn't that a pretty flower? I think this was the purple Triton radish. Not a great radish, but I love the flowers. And finally, look at the color of the leaves on these purple majesty or majestic purple, I can't remember which. Anyway, purple potatoes. They're fun just for their leaves. What do you think, Francie? Good morning. I wanted to try to film for a minute this morning from the garden and show you one of my favorite things in the perennial border, and that is oriental lilies. I'm rather obsessed with oriental lilies, and this one is a showstopper. It's been here for several years now. It started with one bulb. I believe I bought it from Young's Garden Seeds in Wisconsin. And you can see I'm about 5'4", a little over 5'4", and this is about a foot taller than I am. This is in a very crowded part of the garden with shallow, sandy, and very acidic soil full of tree roots, and I'm being careful where I step because there are a lot of other plants down below that you can't see. But it's been very happy here. From this first bulb, it's sent out, it has little bulblets that it grows from, and there are 6 stalks now altogether. The secondary ones you can see are not as tall, but they're still at least 5 foot. We had a big storm come through the other day, a strong wind, and if I let this go, you'll see it's tilted, but it didn't break over, thank goodness. It's almost done now. The last of the blossoms have opened, but it's been going for about a week, And I'll take some still photos and insert the beautiful pale yellow that's in the interior. And there are dark fuzzy velvet stamens. And the fragrance is just amazing. It's not overpowering like an Easter lily fragrance. When they're naturalized in the flower garden or in the border like these are, it's just a delicate, almost soft jasmine smell. Oop, there's a mosquito. And my kitchen window is right over here, and this fragrance just fills the garden. Now I have several other varieties, but this one just, I think I need to plant some more down here because these are so happy. This is a big sturdy plant. It doesn't have the biggest blooms. Can you see by the size of my hand? But they just glow. So one of my favorites, and I wanted to share it with you, and I wanted to share it especially for Maria at Ninja Chicken's podcast. She had mentioned that her son had seen in a garden somewhere some oriental lilies and wanted them for his garden, and so they have some growing. So I wanted to share my love of them with her and with her son, and maybe if I ever get brave and dig up some of the little bulblets, I could send some to you for your garden. Of course, I have to see if I can send from my state to yours, but anyway, oriental lilies naturalized in the garden and putting on quite a happy display. What's a favorite thing that's blooming in your garden right now, this last week of July? Before the deer ate my evergreens this past winter, this was a really pretty display with the arborvitae. I had dark and the chartreuse and a barberry, which is kind of a purple color, and that made such a nice backdrop for the lilies. The evergreens survived, but they look like I had a really bad day of trimming. There you can see. Quite often we'll find little tree frogs inside. Here's why the birds are making a lot of racket. Even though she doesn't hunt birds, they're not taking any chances. Oh, and look what else is opened in the garden. I think this is the one that Maria said that Leaf has. Look at the pollen. And this one is so pretty, but it's more of a trumpet lily shape. It's always downward facing, so you don't get quite the statement. I like the color of that one too. So that just opened. And you can see on this one stalk there are there are 12 buds on one stalk. And it's getting ready to send up some new babies too. Here. Mama Robin is not very happy that I'm out here in the garden. Can you see there are 3 babies in there? I better go so I don't disturb her too much. Little Lemon Queen is one of my very favorite sunflowers. And the zinnias are just starting to open. I love the stripes on the stamens of this one. My one and only celebrity plant this year. I don't know why, because I usually grow several. And it did really good too, but it's starting to slow down now too, being in this pot and because it got dry. So see, like I would pinch off like this. But that's all. But you do what works best for you. And this was Pineapple Hawaiian, I think. Isn't that beautiful? And look at the size. And it does taste amazing. I'm not a fan of orange or yellow tomatoes usually. But I had a chance to buy this one plant. Very slow to get tomatoes, very slow for them to ripen. And like my brother said, you have to pick them before they start to split. Here's one that something got on the corner. But if I slice around that. So I don't know, I did like it. It's a big plant. If I had more than one, it would take an awful lot of space. Have any of you grown it before? It's supposed to be an heirloom. But what a whopper of tomatoes it puts out. A hardy mum that's several years old now. It was one of the funeral flowers from my mom's funeral. She also loved 4 o'clocks, which are growing along here, and a whole clump of yellow ones. So today my grandsons were saving the seed from them. Isn't that the coolest little flower? And they smell so good. And here you can see the seed. It's a big seed, so easy to save. Look how grubby my hands are. Been working in the garden all day. Okay, I'm going to try to do something one-handed here. Usually I have the grandsons here helping me harvest in the garden because this is something they like to plant. But I noticed that a few of these potatoes were poking up, and in case we do get rain tonight, I thought I'd go ahead and pull them. So this is one plant. There are 14 potatoes of these Adirondack Blue. And I'm going to try to pull another one for you to see. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. So you can see there were a few that were starting to pop up. So let's see what we might have. Oh, look at... And I have to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of purple potatoes, but these have just been amazing potatoes. This might have been from that last plant, so let's see. Oh, these came off a little bit. The last one they pulled right out right with their plant. These may have been a little deeper. A little bit smaller too. It's a bigger one. Now let's see. This is from the next plant. This was one of the ones that I saw. Hope this isn't too joggly and too boring. I wanted to try to get a little, you know, how some gardening YouTubers do. There's a wee tiny little one. Piece of plastic from something. Oh, I missed one. So 14 was the number on that first one there. And you can see there's some sticking out from under here. So I'm going to shut the camera off. Now watch, probably this one will have a ton of them again. But I'll check back with you. There are not so many. This was from 2 more plants and a couple that I think I missed the other day. One thing about them, unless you feel of them, they are easy to miss in the soil. You see how they kind of blend in? But I'll talk a little bit more about these later on. It's starting to get dark, so I want to get finished up, but I have kind of a funny story to tell about them, and I'd love to hear your experience with blue or purple potatoes if you've grown them before. So I'll talk to you soon. Clearance sale plants that need to be planted. Kyle the horse and the ewes on this misty, rainy September morning. Livestock guardian animal at its best. Kyle the horse. And you might be able to hear the geese in the distance. So I just want to document here, mostly for myself, I went ahead and harvested the Long Island cheese pumpkins. Even though there's green on this side of the bush, but there were vines, but there weren't any fruit here. They were all over here where the frost has pretty well taken them out and they were exposed. Oh, excuse the dumpster back there. And they were getting a lot of rain. And even though the stems weren't dried down, the stems were dying. So I chose to go ahead while we had a couple of dry hours to harvest them. Maybe I'm going to be sorry. But this one back here that looks like butternut squash grew on the same vine. And these are seeds that I have saved myself from previous years, and I have never grown butternut squash. So you guys tell me what happened there. I also wanted to document, I cut some of the sunflowers that weren't completely dry too, and I'm hoping they won't mold, but the birds are cleaning them out, and there are seed that I want to save. So back here, I'm going to call this seed number 1. Look at that color. And these I actually did cover with, you can see back there, I did cover with some netting to protect them and try to let them dry a little bit more. So that's seed number 1. This I'm going to call seed number 2. And this is from the big tall sunflower. So they were 12 and 13 feet tall. They weren't the mammoth seed heads, but they were really pretty. They were so tall. And this is all of the seed I could save from those. The birds have it picked clean. And this one is kind of like the teddy bear sunflower you may have seen, except for this wasn't a dwarf. This was about 6 to 8 feet tall. And again, this is all that I could get. They've cleaned the others out in the last few days. So we'll see. And then I have one more that I'm saving that's in the other garden, and I'll show you some of that. But that's what's here. I expect, even though it's partly overcast with that full moon tonight, and it's never gotten out of the 50s today, I wouldn't be surprised to see another heavy frost tonight. Okay, I hope you can hear me over the wind. I'll try to speak a little bit loudly. I was in the process of tearing up the Long Island cheese squash vines, pumpkin vines, and I happened to think of something that you might like to, or you might find interesting. I had been saying that this was 2 plants because it was planted in here and went this way. That way it was also going forward through the trees. But as I was pulling it out, it was only 1 plant. It was just that some of it went that way, some went that way, and some went that way. 1 plant that produced all that vine. And the other thing, and I don't have all of it, but the root was huge, and there was no squash vine borer. I want to show you what that most of that healthy root looked like compared to what a squash vine borer disabled root would be like. See how healthy and nice that is? And I had heard on somebody's Instagram, maybe Rare Seeds, Seed Savers or Seed Savers Exchange, about the different types of squash families that have a more dense stalk and stem that does help prevent squash vine borer. And I think butternut was one of those, and Long Island cheese is in that same species or family. But so then I also wanted to get an idea of how long that vine was. So it would have originated here, and I'm just going to kind of pace it off. It won't be straight because it grew in and amongst different things, but let's just say approximately, and I'm going to pause and count the steps so it's not, well, no, I'll have you walk with me. Hopefully it won't be too rough. So let's say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 42 approximately. My paces are 2 feet. My normal paces. And there's still, see, I had gone through and trimmed off the baby pumpkins that were coming to try to get the others to ripen, but I missed a few. So there still were some coming on. but that's all one vine, and that actually was wrapped around and even grew up into the tree. One of the fruits, one of the squash grew in the tree. So I'm really curious to cut those open and see, because of some odd things that happened with them, and I'll talk about that maybe a little more. But I also am going to count the success to this being a new vegetable production. There's been flowers growing in here before, but not vegetables. Last year, some well-rotted sheep compost, and never having had any squash or pumpkin grow in here before. So distance and rotation, I think, and the right variety is probably a really good thing. And then they grew beneath the, I can't remember what this is called. It's in the everlasting family. And then underneath of the sunflowers and the apple trees. So hopefully you find that interesting. I find that kind of stuff endlessly fascinating. So I'll do some more cleanup. Well, this is a really strange weather day. It started out warm and sunny, and then turned breezy and overcast. And I would have sworn a few minutes ago that we were going to have a shower, but it's kind of clearing now. I've got most of this bed cleared up. Mason, my grandson, and I worked on it yesterday, and I just went through and did a little bit of raking and picked up some more stuff. Dug along through here to make sure we didn't miss any potatoes, and then we'll rake that back over. But I'm sitting here thinking what I want to plant in this bed next year. I've grown tomatoes here for actually 3 years, but heavily for 2 years, with no disease trouble at all, and real good success. And I assume that that's from the fresh compost every year and the good airflow. I don't trim them or prune them. You will have seen some pictures, but this is a really windy spot. The wind funnels up here between the barn and the house. So I think that's probably one of the reasons. But I don't know if I want to chance it again. And I did have beans in here, so that helped fertilize this soil. I don't want to do any of the squash, even though it would be really pretty here, but I have grown summer squash in this area, and then some winter squash grows over the fence where the sheep graze, and they really are attacked by pests. Cucumber beetle, squash vine borer, and a few others. So I don't think I want to take a chance here for that, but I was thinking about a small stand of corn. Now most people say you need at least 20 stalks of corn to get good pollination, and so I could easily do that here in this whole length. But would it be too windy? Have to do a shorter variety, most likely. And that field out there, the farmer has done corn for 2 years. I don't know if he'll do corn again or not. But anyways, just something I was thinking about. If not, I don't think I want to make this a bed for the brassica. It's full sun for anything that might need a little cooler weather, and I don't want to look at row cover off of the porch, where corn would be kind of pretty. So we'll see, because I could do corn and with beans again underneath. And then this little small bed, I might put garlic in yet this fall. And this is a reminder to myself, I'm not going to work up this bed. So don't let me forget that. Maybe I'll put a little sign to myself in there. Because this has been pretty well enriched with compost already. So I might just cover it with grass clippings. And then, because I had borage and the bronze fennel and what else did I have over there? But stuff that will self-seed if I leave it undisturbed. And that's what I want to do. So note to self. And then I'm kind of covering that from frost because I want to save the seeds on those beautiful marigolds. I don't know if you can see how pretty red they are. So, that's that. And my little clearance sale, cheap little doodad here that I absolutely love. So I have to tuck that away so it's safe till next year. Oh, the ewes are coming in. Maybe they think it's going to rain. We'll leave the marigolds and the zinnias that are still here to enjoy. And the asters are still blooming. Well, coffee break should be over. I really hadn't planned to work that bed up, but evidently somebody had other ideas.